Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 47. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, Steelers doing some roster shuffling with an eye towards the Week 10 Sunday night game against the LA Chargers in LA. Pittsburgh will make that trip on Saturday. Dave, how you doing?
All right. Happy Friday. Did you enjoy that old AFL game?
This is why I don't watch a lot of Thursday night games. I felt vindicated.
That was as Thursday as a Thursday night on Thursday night game gets. It really tests your love of football and trying to watch as much football as you can. What an ugly game that was. I didn't know if Geno Smith was going to be able to make it all the way through that one. He got banged up quite a bit. We got to see, I think, a snap or two of Kenny Pickett in that game as well. But the Broncos ended up winning another game, and now we look forward to, obviously, the Steelers playing on the road against the Chargers in what figures to be probably a lower scoring game. At least that's the way I've got it analyzed Unfortunately, no Chargers beat writer on the show today. We efforted, but that it didn't materialize there. But I know you and I have watched enough film on the Chargers, should have a pretty good grasp, and we'll just kind of elongate, I guess, our breakdown of that game when we get to that section of the show. But we do have some housekeeping to get a hold of or get through first and foremost.
We do. Pittsburgh shaking up its roster that now remains at 52 players. Pittsburgh loves being one man short. So one addition, one subtraction. Pittsburgh, since we last spoke, signed defensive lineman Brodric Martin-Rhodes off the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad. He joined the team for Thursday's practice. So he's a former third-round pick of the Detroit Lions out of Western Kentucky by way of North Alabama. He did not have success in Detroit, appeared in just a handful of games, made 5 tackles, was waived in late August, signed to Casey's practice squad, and now he'll be on Pittsburgh's roster effectively for at least the next 3 games. Probably longer is going to be the intent there, maybe the backup replacement for Daniel Aquale, who tore his ACL in that Bengals game and is out for the season. Pittsburgh did not need to make a corresponding move to get Martin-Rhodes on the roster, but they still made a move yesterday, waiving former third-round pick, defensive lineman / edge DeMarvin Leal. He was somebody that has struggled to find a role and fit for this team, has been active sparingly throughout the season, played even fewer snaps, some on special teams. So we'll see if he goes back to the practice squad at some point. Not sure if that's going to be the scenario for him, but Leal off the 53-man roster to make it a 52-man roster once again.
All right. I believe we got all caught up on the practice squad moves with Mark Robinson and Daquan Hardy coming in as well, too. All right. Let's start with the new defensive tackle there. As soon as I saw the move and did some quick research and tape on him, is this a 4th and 1 problem solver here or goal line problem solver here? A big guy, not the most athletic specimen, but definitely a guy that can plug in the middle of the line there. So we've seen Logan Lee be, inactive a lot this as of late. Obviously, they lost Daniel Aquale to the injury, and I'm not sure they like what they see out of Ota Mawo so far as well, too. So I guess we'll have to wait and see the direction that they go on Sunday here. But I would think there's a decent chance maybe of Brodric being active and maybe potentially seeing time as a 3rd and short, 4th and short, or goal line type defensive tackle.
Mike Tomlinson made the joke about it's not too hard to get a nose tackle up to speed, go left, go right. That's kind of your job. He's a big guy in the middle. When he came out of college, he weighed in about almost 6'5", 330 pounds, 34-inch arm. So not too many guys that have that sort of body type. And Pittsburgh paid attention to him coming out of school. Carl Dunbar attended his pro day and put him through one of his workouts. And so there's always kind of been an eye towards Brodric Martin. Now, just as one very small, wonky note, he's been called just Brodric Martin through the bulk of his career. Pittsburgh is calling him on their website Brodric Martin-Rhodes. And so we'll refer to him as such going forward. But for anyone who may be confused about the Rhodes part, Pittsburgh has announced that whenever the signing became official. Yeah, I think it's not necessarily a coincidence that after giving up a 5-for-5 fourth down day against the Colts that a big nose tackle comes in. But I think Pittsburgh's also been looking for nose tackle help in general. According to Jerry Dulac, Pittsburgh was in the market of trading for a veteran defensive lineman on Tuesday's deadline date, could not find a partner. Obviously, when you lose a quality, there really was no true backup nose tackle that had been working in that capacity throughout the season. Y.A. Black was absorbing those snaps. You could sit there and say, let's keep him in that position. But I think Pittsburgh also wants to have good depth because Black is going to be next man up at defensive end as well, with Loudermilk going down and other guys just not being a better option than Lee and Otome was. So I think there's probably more aspirations for Martin-Rhodes to help this team beyond just short yardage.
All right. What about the Dulac? You just hit on the Dulac report, and we kind of wondered if they didn't go, what other positions other than wide receiver might this team look at on the leading up to the last hours of the trade deadline. And I think I noted that I wouldn't be absolutely shocked. It was hard to come up with anybody that they would potentially go after and get there. But thoughts on them at least shopping for a backup defensive tackle?
Yeah, it made sense because, again, Quale had been working as your backup nose the entire season, dating back to training camp, and I assume even in the spring after he signed over from New England. And so there wasn't that next guy up because Black really had not been getting those snaps. He's worked primarily defensive end throughout his first season in the NFL with Pittsburgh. I just don't know who it would have been that would have made sense. I mean, I thought about Devondre Sweat. I've kind of mused about him before the deadline, but I think the Titans wanted to hold on to him as a building block, and he's really more starter than he is backup nose tackle, getting a couple of snaps. Zach Seiler in Miami is a guy that had a big contract, signed an extension, so Dolphins apparently wanted a day 2 pick for him, which is pie in the sky, never going to happen. I mean, you probably could have run down through the Hour Lads depth charts and come up with a couple of potential names, but I think Pittsburgh did not want to have to pay much of anything for a backup nose tackle and give up a good 2026 pick for it.
Yeah, agreed. All right. What do you think about the chances of Brodric Martin-Rhodes being active on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I got to look at the final injury report here. Pittsburgh's got some injuries we'll go over in a second. I think there's a good chance of that, especially when you're facing this Chargers team that is so big personnel, fullbacks, tight ends. My headline for the scouting report article today on the Chargers is, what is this, 1999? Because they're running this I-form offense. It's very much in vogue with part of the Greg Roman style and certainly the Harbaugh style they were running at Michigan. So it's also probably not a coincidence to get some beef whenever you're facing this really physical Chargers team upcoming. So I like Brodric Martin-Rhodes coming out of college. I thought he was a guy that had a little more energy and burst to his game than just being a plugger. Now, obviously, that has not been shown in his NFL career. He had an injury in 2024, missed a chunk of the season. I had a little bit of a Mon Adams vibe to his game, but not quite the athlete, so that's probably too far of a comparison to make, especially where his NFL career is gone or not gone. But I like this game coming out, and Pittsburgh, again, had that interest, and we know Pittsburgh loves to circle back to those guys they had pre-draft interest in.
And he certainly is a measurable guy with those long arms as well, too, and the height.
Yeah, 6'5", 330, 34+ inch arms is a pretty unusual body type to see in an era of smaller, quicker defensive linemen to defend the spread pass game. So we'll see what his contributions are, and if he gets ahead, he'll be wearing number 78, by the way, if you do see him dressed on Sunday night.
All right, and DeMarvin Leal off the roster again, and didn't he start the season on the practice squad and then got signed to the 53-man roster for a handful of games here. So is this obviously he could potentially circle back to the practice squad, so we'll have to see if that happens next week or whatnot. But with all these outside linebackers now back healthy and all like that, knock on wood, Not a huge shock that Leal's off this roster again, right?
And also maybe getting some special teamers back too, because Leal was playing up a little bit on there with Chuck Clark coming back. Peppers, we'll see, not looking great for him as of this recording, but Malik Harrison coming off of IR, those types of things may start squeezing out Leal's role. Now, are they going to replace somebody and make this roster whole again? Or are they going to continue to roll 52 as they have? Matthew Marksy wrote about it. They've had a 52-man roster more times this year than they've had a 53-man roster. They started full for the first couple weeks, and then once Max Sharping tore his ACL, they've been with 52 for all but a handful of days this season. Kind of curious. I guess it doesn't really matter because you have the same number of game day dress, the 48, but it's been an interesting way to kind of see this roster constructed. So, why release Leal if they aren't going to replace him with somebody? I don't know, but we'll see if they do end up replacing his spot by Saturday.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they will, but and obviously,
Well, I guess Will Howard is the question. Will Howard be activated on Saturday and get him on the 53 officially?
Yeah. When is his window close?
Next Wednesday.
All right. So you save a game check potentially that way. I'm doubting they do anything. Now, whether or not we see an elevation from the practice squad, that's a potential. Somebody like Valdez Scantling or something like that. But I'm betting they don't put Howard on the 53 this weekend. But obviously Saturday we'll have to wait and see what kind of matriculation happens with the roster.
I will go the other way. I'll stick my neck out and say Howard does get activated by Saturday and dresses as the emergency third quarterback for the Chargers game.
All right. As of right now, it all depends on if they elevate somebody or not as to the amount of inactives they will need. So I think it's pretty safe to say that probably we're not going to see Logan Lee dressed this week. And we got a few injuries the injury report talk about a couple of guys that might show up on the inactive list again this week.
Yeah, to help kind of form what that list might look like, not practicing for the team Thursday. I'll read off the list of names here. Wide receiver Scotty Miller with the finger. He's missed both sessions so far. Again, recording this before Friday's report comes out. Tight end Connor Hayward popped up with a knee injury after practicing on Wednesday. We'll see what the status is there. Isaac Seumalo has not worked this week. Could be the same as last week where he didn't work until Friday and then was cleared. Cole Holcomb continues to miss with a mystery illness of sorts. Hopefully he's okay. Something really dogging him. Corey Trice Jr. with a knee injury remains on IR, and Jabril Peppers remains out with a quad. He did not practice Thursday. Cam Hayward limited with rest. Alex Highsmith getting in a limited practice. He turned his ankle early in that game against the Colts, finished it out. He'll play this weekend. Working in full, Will Howard with that hand injury. Darnell Washington missed Wednesday with a foot, but he was back good to go for Thursday. Chuck Clark has worked this week with his illness that caused him to miss Week 9's game. Johnny Smith got a rest day on Wednesday, came back full on Thursday.
All right. Sounds like Scotty Miller might be down again. Sounds like Holcomb will be down again. Sounds like Peppers might be down again. Who else?
Well, the question is, Seumalo, is it going to be the repeat of last week? Will he be limited and then come in and then practice Friday and then be good to go for Sunday? Is going to be the name to watch.
All right. And we'll know a little bit more in a few more hours here when the Friday injury report's released, who's officially ruled out.
We'll keep an eye on Connor Hayward, too. I don't know if that's just a one-day blip, which happens sometimes. The guy gets a day, but we'll see if this thing causes him to have a game status for the Chargers contest.
All right.
And from the Chargers end of things, 2 players of note did not practice on Thursday. Our old friend, offensive tackle Bobby Hart, really wanted to see him this weekend. We were joking about that. We love seeing Bobby Hart against TJ Watt. Doubt he'll play this week. And then Tarheeb still, one of their corners, has not worked this week. I don't know if that's going to be a thing where he perks up Friday or not. We'll have the report later today.
All right. Wasn't there somebody else that popped up on their injury report yesterday?
Nobody that went DNP backwards. Mekhi Becton's been limited this week with a knee injury, but that kind of feels like more maintenance. I'm not super plugged in, and we have no beat writer this week to kind of confer with, but we'll certainly watch that considering all their offensive line injuries.
Yeah. Backup wide receiver was limited with a hamstring. He'll probably be inactive anyway, though. Keandre Lambert-Smith
I think St. Juice, their corner, went
Right,
limited Thursday
right.
with a groin. Okay.
That's something to watch there.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with him. If not, you'll see more of old friend Dante Jackson. He's got a pick this year for the Chargers.
All right, their offensive line, obviously, because they had lost uh,
Slater and Alt.
Alt halfway through that game against the Titans, and then Bobby Harder started that thing and did not finish. So, going to be interesting to see who they line up at their two tackle spots. And they traded. We mentioned this the other day. They traded for Trevor Penning, and guard tackle capable, feels like more of a guard at this point of his career, but does have the flexibility. So we'll have to see if they can get him up and going and at least active for this game.
Yeah, I think Trey Pipkins is going to be one of those options. He's not on the report this week. I know he got hurt, I think, a couple weeks ago, and then we'll see the other tackle spot, but they're really beat up there, and we'll talk about it more whenever we preview the Chargers game, you and I, but Justin Herbert was sacked 6 times against the Titans, who don't exactly have the 1976 Steelers defense over here, and all 6 sacks came after Joe Alt got hurt and went down, so it kind of speaks to how valuable Alt is for them.
I wonder if they're going to be able to get Mekhi Becton back this week or not, because their right guard spot's horrible.
Yeah, so certainly an area to take advantage of. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit, Dave. Let's pivot to the coordinators speaking yesterday. Terrell Austin, Arthur Smith. Nothing super groundbreaking there. Austin not committing long-term to keeping Jalen Ramsey at safety and Kyle Duggar in the starting lineup. They should play in those roles this week. At least Ramsey confirmed will play safety again, like he did against the Colts. And then anything beyond is a kind of wait and see approach. But I think they're pretty happy with the job Ramsey's doing. Austin talked about the physicality Ramsey brings. Being able to kind of put the fear into receivers going over the middle and the benefit that brings Pittsburgh.
A lot of questions about Ramsey and where he would be and the play of Ramsey and all. And I think he was asked another what kind of Woodson related question, and he wanted to be careful answering that. He said, "Did you watch Rod Woodson closely when he moved to safety, and is there any comparison?" He said there could be, because I remember when Rod moved. He says, I actually did an internship at Baltimore when he was playing safety down there. I got a chance to see him, and you obviously knew he was a top-notch corner before he went down there. I'm assuming he probably looked at that, would probably be a nice blueprint. I was aware of it and saw it, how well it could go, obviously, because, Rod, Hall of Famer, great player, great dude. So I'm sure he was aware of that. I was aware of that as well, too. And then he was asked for a comparison. He says, I don't want to compare it like that. He talking about Ramsey. He said he played 1 week full-time safety. I tried to get out of that with some laughter. You see that? I was trying to get out. So he didn't want to go as far as say that Ramsey's the next Rod Woodson,
Which is it's one game. I think Austin's making a good point there. I think it'll be really interesting, and this wasn't asked this week. It's going to be, I think, a big topic of conversation next week when you're facing the Bengals again. Does Ramsey stay at safety? You basically traded Jalen Ramsey to take on Jamar Chase, and you tried that in the first matchup, and it didn't have great results overall, but Deshaun Elliott's still going to be out for the Bengals game. We know that. Now, will Peppers come back? What'll be Clark's status? Who knows? But, Clark should play, but where they're going to play him, we'll see. But will they use Ramsey kind of split at safety and corner in that game? I think that's going to be really interesting to kind of see how they approach the Bengals game.
All right, he was asked about Brandon Echols showing, a little bit against the Colts here and how that allows him to maybe keep Jalen Ramsey at safety.
Right, and Echols is a guy that's done well since day one. He had a really good training camp. He's versatile. He can play any of the corner spots, and so that's really allowed this team to have the flexibility to move guys around, and then certainly to move Ramsey to safety, because Echols is your de facto slot corner right now with Slay and Porter on the outside. So I thought he had a pretty good game against the Colts, had a breakup. He's tackled well overall. Did have that 1 touchdown pass to Down Slate on what seemed like a coverage bust, miscommunication on the stack. But Echols has had a nice, year with Pittsburgh, and it's been a really shrewd signing. I wouldn't call it quite to the level of Deshaun Elliott last year, but in terms of one of those good value secondary pieces, it's kind of on a similar plane.
And look, this secondary is going to have their hands full again this week, almost like they have been the last several weeks. Against the Colts, had a good receiving group and quality tight end and all. And you're going to go against a good group of wide receivers and a guy in a Rondé Gadsden that Terrell Austin was asked about yesterday.
Yeah, Gadsden's going to be one of those height, weight, speed, pass game threat tight ends. We'll talk about him more soon. And so will that be a Ramsey thing, the way that Ramsey had a lot of attention paid to Tyler Warren last week? We'll see. Will it be a division of labor? Obviously, won't just be Ramsey. There'll be multiple people that I'm sure will match up on him. You'll play some zone as well. I thought it was interesting. Talked about that 3 inside linebacker package with Harrison, Queen, and Peyton Wilson. And Wilson kind of used almost a little hybrid-like, a little overhang, and kind of talked about him as a not safety, but just kind of playing a little more in between linebacker and safety, and the flexibility that gave Pittsburgh when you're facing this really rough and tumble, run first Chargers team. Will you try to lean on that again? Because Pittsburgh used that 3 off-ball linebacker package against 12 personnel, and they're going to see nothing but 12 personnel and 21 personnel on early downs against LA.
Yep. And obviously Peyton Wilson coming off of perhaps maybe his best game as a professional against the Colts. And they're going to need more of that, obviously, moving forward.
Anything else from Austin? That was kind of, I think, covering our bases there.
He was asked about defense. Some of the players saying defense was simplified, and they felt like maybe that helped them against the Colts. How much, from your perspective, did the simplification lead to some of the splash plays? He says, I think performance, and when you say simplification, I think we maybe cut some calls because we had some new guys, and it was a simple fact of necessity. I think our guys really, when you look at how we made the plays, I think the biggest thing to happen is our guys played fast, tackled well. We did a good job, like I said, getting in the right spots. I think it's easy to say it's simplification. I just think we ran probably more of our base calls than normal, and that's where we were.
Yeah, it seemed to pay off. We'll see what the approach is. I mean, we talked about that, one reason I'm sure they simplified things was to play better, but then also because they sort of had to. When you have a safety come in, play 99% of the snaps on 2.5 practices, you can't have a giant menu of plays. So I think kind of a combination of needing to and then wanting to simplify this scheme. Austin, I thought, made a very telling comment, but it was heartening to hear because coaches sometimes won't talk about it in these terms and kind of be a little vulnerable. But he talked about the coaches sometimes can get a little too in their bag and try to tweak and mess with too much, especially on mini buys and bye weeks. You go watch around the NFL and say, oh, that looks pretty cool. Let's do that kind of stuff too. And you start adding too much to it. And so coaches can kind of get a little too far down that rabbit hole, kind of like you and I, Dave, down the rabbit hole. So I think sometimes just stepping back and saying, let's just focus on what we do well. It can be more important than let's go do the next cool thing.
All right. What about Arthur Smith on fourth? Anything else on Austin?
No, I think that covers it well.
All right. What about Arthur Smith about being aggressive, fourth down and all?
Yeah, I talked about that's a changing landscape. We're seeing teams go forward. Just saw the Colts have 5 fourth down attempts and 5 fourth down conversions. That changes the landscape of not just fourth down, but how do you call things on third down? Because if you have a team from 3rd and 8 and you stop them 1 yard short, well, did you really stop them 4th and 1? There's a good chance they're going to go for it, even if it's in their own territory or even if it's early in the game. And so the way that you imagine your third down calls, offensively and defensively, really, I think, have shifted over the years.
And look, we saw Mike Tomlin go for a couple more fourth downs this last time here after being more conservative, for the first, 7 or 6 or 7 games there. So it'll be interesting. Look, I mean, if you can't get 1 yard in this league when you need it, especially if the ball is midfield or beyond, what are we doing here? So be interesting to see how the aggressiveness, or if they can even get in some of these fourth and short situations.
No, I think the statement about teams being more aggressive applies to the other 31 teams because Tomlin has been, and the numbers show this, the most conservative coach in the NFL. Pittsburgh is tied last in the NFL with 6 fourth down attempts this season with Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Seattle. I know Pittsburgh has been ahead in some of these games. So winning record means you have to go for it on fourth down, usually less often, but pretty mellow team on fourth down. I think it goes back to Chris Boswell. I remember I talked about that comment that Chris Boswell is almost too good because he gives Tomlin so much comfort that let's not go for it on 4th and 1. I trust Bos is going to make it. If Pittsburgh had a worse kicker, you'd probably see Pittsburgh go for it on 4th down more often. It's one reason why Tomlin punts whenever Pittsburgh has a good defense, because he trusts his defense to make the play instead. So that's just the philosophy of Tomlin. You're right. They were more aggressive against the Colts, going for it on 4th down after the Eccles fumble recovery on that muff punt. That was a game where you knew you needed points against the Colts' high-powered offense. So I think when you face teams that are a little less potent, like the Chargers, Tomlin may go back into old conservative self.
All right, we'll definitely see you on Sunday. Hey, how about just not even getting a situation where you have to go for it on 4th and 1?
That would be nice. That would be nice. And hopefully it's not 4th and 10 where you have to punt, but hopefully you can avoid and just convert on 3rd down quite a bit. Anything else from Arthur Smith?
How about the taming of Roman Wilson?
Right. Working on, there was some good and bad. The good is they're saying still got faith in the guy, still making plays. We believe that he's going to continue to be an asset to us, but they want him to stop hurdling, and that's probably good advice. He did it against Cincinnati late in that game. It didn't hurt him at the time. It hurt him against the Colts, obviously. And Smith's saying that's kind of common for a lot of guys in college that like to hurdle because they probably can get away with it more than they can at the NFL level. So if Wilson can be grounded literally and figuratively, he'll be okay.
Yeah. And, that was unfortunate because you had a chance, obviously, to close out the game there. And we talked about that the other day. Just a good good teaching moment overall. I think in so many words, that's what Arthur Smith kind of related that to with the unfortunate fumble by him in that game against the Colts later.
Smith praised the group for being selfless, and DK Metcalf talked about, I don't really care about targets, we just want to win. And it's a lot of player speak, but it's really encouraging to hear considering you've had guys like George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and even AB that, very much make their displeasure known when the ball wasn't going their way. And for an offense that's built to spread the ball around, that's very much Arthur Smith's philosophy. It's what Aaron Rodgers is able to accomplish with ease. It's nice to see these guys just be able to bide their time, and the ball finds them. Pat Freiermuth had a quiet start to the season. He's come on strong. DK Metcalf has had his big games. It's kind of been popcorn. Guys will have their big games. It's going to ebb and flow week to week. But it's the mark of a good offense and a good team and locker room and culture when everyone is kind of keeping the peace despite not always getting big numbers.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers talked about that a couple of days ago after our Wednesday show as well, right? And kind of mentioned when he was talking to MVS about his arrival and saying, "Look, we don't have any bad apples in this group." This is a good wide receiver core as far as not being me types and all like that. And Aaron Rodgers, if there's one thing that you can say that he's done throughout this season is spread the ball around. And Aaron said, if you're open, you're going to get the ball, and he kind of threw out there that, time with Devontae Adams, the reason he got the ball so much because Devontae was getting open when he worked with him. So just do your job and the ball will find you if you get open, or in the case of Darnell Washington, it might find you when you're not really open.
That's just gravitational pull that brings the ball into Darnell Washington. Do you think, Dave, that quarterback resume and just the style has an impact on guys being quieter or louder when you have a vet and a Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers, a 4-time MVP, that guys are going to be able to, they're not going to pop off as quickly because it's Aaron Rodgers, and what are you going to do? Start yelling at Aaron Rodgers? Like, do you think that has a factor in kind of the mindset for some of these guys? Not even just the Steelers, but just in general, whenever you have these iconic names at quarterback, that guys kind of chill out a little bit more?
Yeah, especially when your room only really it technically includes one real notable wide receiver in DK Metcalf, and the rest of the guys are still trying to, or not year to some of the guys are year to year. Your Skronix, your Scotty Millers. Obviously, Roman's still trying to cut his teeth, and Austin, even though he's developed, he's not a household name around the NFL. And as long as DK Metcalf follows suit, I mean, look, they're not going to question a guy like Aaron Rodgers. No.
Right. That's kind of my point. Like if it was Kenny Pickett at quarterback, maybe you get more questions when you're a younger guy, less proven. Oh, this guy sucks. He's not getting me the ball. When it's Rodgers, you can't be like, Aaron, what are you doing? Because Aaron's not going to put up with that kind of stuff.
Right, and you got a good tight end group on top of it as well too. So it's just a good mesh of guys, and as Aaron Rodgers said, I mean, he's going to continue to spread the football around. And even your running backs as well too. We've seen Gainwell play a big part in this passing game, specifically in this last game as well too. And I think Arthur Smith even hit on that as well too. So get open, and the ball will find you.
Right, and Arthur Smith talked about that mentality is good for morale in the room because everyone feels like they can be involved. And whenever everyone feels like they can get the ball in any situation, in any given moment, any given game, that they're going to be locked in a lot more. Not just, oh, I'm the fourth progression here. I'm never getting the ball. We've run this play 10 times in practice. It just never goes to me. You never know what could happen with Rodgers depending on what the defensive look is and his even somewhat limited, but his mobility that's kind of been better the last couple of weeks to keep the play alive. 9 different guys have caught a touchdown this year. I think, 10, 11 guys have caught a pass this year, including an offensive lineman. And that goes back to Arthur Smith again. Philosophically, I wrote about that when they first hired him. He specifically talked about he likes spreading the ball around in the red zone. So everybody feels like they can catch a touchdown in any given moment, get 9 guys with a score this season. So, yeah, I think the mentality certainly plays well. And Rodgers, also, I think you mentioned it. Whenever he was asked about what do you do whenever a guy wants the ball more, Rodgers said, "Well, let's go to the film room. Let's look at the tape. Are you getting open? If you're getting open, okay, then yeah, we'll talk about it. If you're not getting open, we're going to look at the tape and say, listen, that's why you're not getting the ball." So it's not like Rodgers is a dictator saying, "Shut up, don't talk to me about getting the ball." He's like, "Okay, we'll talk. We'll have a conversation. We'll communicate, and we'll kind of see, are you correct or are you just kind of being pissy?"
Yeah, that's a good attitude to have, at least. And if some of those guys, I would imagine Aaron has no problem breaking down film with guys willing to look at it.
And that's one reason why you bring a guy in that can break down the film and can have that communication. And again, shows that Rodgers is a really quality teammate. For all the outside noise about how would he fit and what teammates like and all that kind of stuff, there really was no concern in either of our minds about would he fit into the locker room well. There was questions about would he make some media waves and create some outside noise unnecessarily, but internally it's been excellent. And externally, there's been basically none of that outside noise either. So it's been, I don't think we talk enough about how good the relationship things seem to be internally between Rodgers and his teammates and Arthur Smith. Because again, how much hand-wringing was there this offseason about how will Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith work together? And it has been maybe the best pairing Pittsburgh has had, quarterback OC, in a long time. Like, who was the last time you had a better pairing and better mesh of quarterback and OC?
Oh, wow. Probably, Ben and Arians was pretty tight.
Not even just in terms of like how close they were, but how healthy the relationship was. Because Ben and Fichtner were close, but probably too close, too friendly, too chummy. Fichtner kind of let Ben do whatever he wanted, and that was probably the other extreme. And Haley and Ben didn't work well. Haley went on a podcast and talked about that the narrative is wrong, perception's not reality. We had a good relationship, but at the same time, Haley said, I never critiqued Ben. I would go to Randy Fichtner and tell Randy, go tell Ben this kind of stuff. That is not a healthy relationship when you can't talk to the guy and have a constructive, criticism comment. So I think the comment falls on its face. So that was not healthy. I think Ben and Fichtner were too close. Canada was a mess. That's enough said. So yeah, maybe Ben Arians, but even then, were those two guys too close? Ben took a lot of shots. Arians wanted this four verts offense, didn't really protect Ben. I might even say that Rodgers and Arthur Smith have worked better together than those guys.
I wonder how some of those conversations with I would like Randy every once in a while shows up on one of these interviews off the cuff when you least expect it and talks a little bit. I'd like him to be asked about him being a conduit between Haley and Ben moving forward. And I imagine he didn't have well, I got to talk to you. Look, these are some of the things Todd thinks we should work on. I bet they weren't very, look, you need to do this. I bet it was very
Right.
kid gloves,
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I really liked Randy Fichtner as a person. He had no ego, which is rare for a coordinator, but all of that just sounds super weird the way that Haley explained it. So maybe Ben Arians, because they certainly had a good working relationship. But if not them, like, I don't know who else it would be, because Wisenhunt, Ben, I mean, that was like, it's a rookie, it's a young guy,
Right.
just shut up, do whatever. I don't know if that's the answer. So, I mean,
And then,
obviously,
and then ahead of that, you just, because of the lack of the internet and all, you don't really know how, you don't really know how things went prior to that with Maddox and Slash and,
right.
you know.
Yeah, it's harder to kind of think back, and you had more quarterback turnover in the Kent Graham eras in the early 2000s. That kind of stuff got a little bit messy from there before Pittsburgh found Ben and a franchise quarterback. So all of that to say is obviously we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but I think Smith and Rodgers have worked extremely well. And again, it's not just are they really good friends? What they seem to have a good relationship, but like, is it healthy? Can they challenge each other? Can they make each other better? Can they bounce ideas off of each other? Those are also things that I think about when a good relationship, not just are we holding hands, but are we also able to have honest and earnest conversations about what we think has to improve, what we like, what we don't like. That's really important to fixing mistakes and being proactive and getting ahead of stuff and building and growing.
All right. Anything else on Arthur Smith?
No, I took us down a rabbit hole. I'm sorry for that, but I
That's
figured
all
we
right.
got some extra time today. Let's also, I probably should have mentioned this top of the show after the roster moves. We don't talk about it much. My kind of standpoint is, unless it's football related or legality related, we're not going to talk about Antonio Brown, but there is some of the latter today. Antonio Brown, according to multiple reports, was extradited from Dubai to America and has been arrested and taken into custody by U.S. Marshals for an attempted murder charge and probably some other charges as well related to a May shooting. We wrote about the shooting that happened down in Miami at some, I think, boxing event at the time. AB has claimed innocence, obviously innocent until proven guilty, but AB had fled to Dubai for the last several months and has finally been brought back stateside. So it'll be a trial that plays out, I'm sure, for many months, if not years, but that is the latest on Antonio Brown.
Like my old man used to tell me, he said, Dave, you can outrun a cop car, but you can't outrun a radio.
All right.
Sooner or later, they're going to get you. Yeah, look, when it comes to, I found myself wondering after all that. I wasn't shocked that finally has come to this with him. I did find myself wondering, man, am I going to live long enough to see Antonio Brown get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
And I don't think you could live 1,000 years, Dave. I don't think that's going to happen, which is sad because as a player, he deserves it. But he's going to fall into the category of, I'm not even sure what other players would qualify, but just not going to happen given everything else that has occurred in his post-playing days.
Just no time soon, that's for sure. So
I don't think ever. I don't know who's going to forget about everything about AB after the fact? I mean, you could give some loose comparisons to Darren Sharper. AB had a stronger on-field resume. Well, I think Sharper was going to be a Hall of Famer if he didn't have all the legal off-field terrible stuff. So I guess that's maybe a closer comparison. We'll see, obviously. Who knows if he'll be found guilty or not. I don't know. The details are a little bit muddy on the story, but very sad overall is the key.
Yep. All right. Where to from here now?
Well, with no beat writer, I think we can just dive on into our own evaluation of this Chargers game. So Sunday night, Pittsburgh coming off that big not must win, but kind of was a must win from a feeling, vibe, culture standpoint against the Colts, facing the LA Chargers, who are 6-3 on the season on a 2-game winning streak, beating the Vikings and Titans. They lost to the Colts back in week 7 for whatever that is worth, 8:20 p.m. Sunday night. Dave, let's start with this Chargers offense. Justin Herbert, some really good receivers. They've had some injuries to the offensive line, to running back. What are your thoughts on this Chargers offense?
All right. You start with Justin Herbert at quarterback here. And this is a guy that, do you Do you blitz him? Do you not blitz him? He's been hit a lot. He's taken some sacks. He has turned the football over a little bit, but this is a guy that still, regardless of even all the hits and the pressures and blitzing, he's still playing well. The fact that the thing that you have to do with him, and this is a guy too, I think that also leads all quarterbacks in rushing at this point. So, when you do, one of the things that stuck out in the last couple of games that I watched of him, when you do get pressure on him, you've got to make sure you keep him within the pocket, because if he does escape, he almost becomes like a poor man's Josh Allen to some degree. He's not afraid to take off with the football, and he's a big body guy, and he can get a lot of yards if you don't have eyes on him. Second, when you blitz him, you better be judicious about how you do it with him, because overall, I think he has been good against the blitz. He'll stand in there and take some of those hits as well, too. His offensive line has slowly degraded throughout the season. It doesn't sound like we're going to get Bobby Hart at right tackle. He went out of that last game kind of early and was replaced by Trey Pipkins. They obviously then had Joe Alt leave, and I believe Jamari Salyer came in there. I think they've got Austin Deculus over there that could play. They obviously went outside or traded for Trevor Penning. They're two best offensive linemen. And look, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mekhi Becton this week. They could really use him back, because Foster Sorrell's just a mess over there at right guard. So it'll be a big boost to them if they can get Mekhi Becton back there at right guard. But if he doesn't play, their two best offensive linemen are Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman. And Bozeman's obviously long in the tooth at this point, not regarded as one of the top centers in the NFL. So you've got to get some sort of pressure on Herbert. You got to be able to keep him in the pocket. You got to be very judicious about when you blitz him as well, too, because this is a guy that, once again, he'll stand in there, he'll take a hit, he'll make a play. This Chargers offense is very good on third down.
Number one in the NFL.
Very good on third down. And we've seen this Steelers defense even struggle in third and long situations here. It almost feels like a give me if it's in a 3rd and 5 situation. He has held on to the football for quite a long time when it comes to snap and throw times, and that hasn't mattered overall here. So, long story short, if you don't get this Chargers offense in 3rd and more than 5 yards, it feels like overall it's going to be an uphill battle for you, because he does have such good wide receivers in Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen. Ladd McConkey is a hell of a damn player. As well too. And you throw in on top of it that they got another really quasi wide receiver in Oronde Gadsden, who's really come on the last several weeks. So yeah, you've got to find a way to get that pressure on Herbert. You've got to make your hits count on him. The longer he holds on to the football, you're probably going to get him on the ground on a couple of games in this, a couple of times in this game. You just got to make those sacks really impactful. You got to try to get that ball out of him. You got to try to force some bad throws with him. And he's made a couple of those this year. He has made some very kind of questionable calls, but then again, he's made some incredible throws. One sticks out, I think, to Quentin Johnson on a corner route in what a couple of these past 2 games. So you got a tall task in here against a guy that you don't know how to handle from a pressure standpoint, because he does so well against the blitz and he does so well against pressure overall. And the key to just slowing him down, it starts on first down with this offense, is slowing this running game. They don't have the offensive line that they, it's degraded. They are, the running game is probably going to run through Vidal at running back. They'll use a lot of, they use a little more than 50% of 11 personnel with the 3 wide receivers on the field. And then the rest of it's a conglomeration of two tight end, three tight end, or however you want to look at it, fullback. Two running backs included in the fullback. They'll take both those big guys in Scott Matlock and Tucker Fisk, and you'll see those guys on the field together quite a bit, either lined up as extra tight ends or one of them at tight end, one of them at fullback, and they'll try to work out of that. So a lot of different variations of personnel groupings and formations that makes them kind of tough to figure out. And they're not afraid to use play action on 1st and 10 situations here as well, too. So you'll be sitting on run with a heavy backfield back there with Matlock in the backfield, or two tight ends, or three tight ends and Matlock and Fisk and Gadsden. They'll run play action on that. They'll hit Ladd McConkey over the top on the second level. So how Justin Herbert plays in this game will be a huge deciding factor in this one.
Of course, it always is. And as Tomlin said, you're facing a healthy Justin Herbert. Pittsburgh last year faced Herbert on one leg, had that ankle sprain, didn't finish out the game, got beat up really good. He couldn't be the mobile Justin Herbert that he has been this season. You're right, he's got 305 rushing yards. That's one short of his career high. He'll shatter that mark. He leads all quarterbacks in rushing yards, 30-plus rushing yards in 6 and 9 games this season. So he's certainly an asset with his legs, and probably will have to run more behind a battered offensive line. But it does start with that run game and that big on big, mono-y-mono. The Chargers want to be big and physical. I wonder what the personnel grouping is on 1st and 2nd down for them. I bet you it's not 50% in terms of 11 personnel. They're coming in big. They're using Fisk. They're using Matlock, who's a former defensive lineman and still very much built like one. I don't have the charting on this day, but I imagine no team runs as much gap and power schemes as the Chargers. They love to pull the guard, especially the left guard, Zion Johnson, even to the boundary, but they'll do it to both sides. So defending the power run game, it's usually Pittsburgh does well in these moments. Whenever it's kind of big on big, physical on physical, Pittsburgh has not been as consistent doing that this year, but they have done well coming off these last 2 games against the Colts and the Packers and Josh Jacobs, the Browns earlier this season. So Pittsburgh can stop the run. You're getting teams in 3rd and long against a beat-up offensive line. I imagine the Chargers will be keeping the tight ends in a lot and to give those tackles help. They're well aware of the bad matchup they're facing with their beat-up tackles against Pittsburgh's rush. And so I wonder if Pittsburgh will be as successful rushing as you might otherwise expect them to be. I'm not blitzing a lot, though, Dave. I'm playing a lot of coverage. I think last week kind of showed let your front get home. Trying to blitz against these skill guys and having those skill guys be one-on-one with Johnston and Allen and McConkey, I think Gadsden is pretty dangerous. So I'm probably trying to rush 4, maybe an add-on, a 5th guy, but not going too crazy.
I don't know if you picked this up on film. They don't do a good job up front handling stunts and twists.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I had that in my report or not, but I did notice that. Again, 6 sacks against Tennessee. Herbert's gone down quite a bit. And when you have all the changes to the offensive line, all the injuries, it's no surprise to see that team struggle.
Right. So I would expect that. But here's the thing, though. You better make sure you have some gap integrity and escape lanes when it comes to Herbert. When you do that kind of stuff, because he'll just take off with the football. But I would expect a lot of twists and stunts, and because they don't pass that stuff off very well.
Really good point. Do you play more man or zone? Just big picture speaking in this game.
Probably more zone.
Yeah, not just from the mobility standpoint, but trying to match up these receivers one-on-one might be a little challenging. McConkey and Johnston in particular. Allen's a little bit more the zone beater type of a guy. Watch out for him on 3rd down. He leads all NFL receivers in 3rd down receptions and in 1st downs on 3rd down by a pretty comfortable margin. Now, granted, the Chargers have not had their bye week yet, so he's gotten more snaps than probably others, but he's always been a 3rd down guy, and he's done that to Pittsburgh before, and that's still true even in his final NFL seasons.
They don't run a lot of really expanded formations. They're more in between the numbers, condensed sets. They'll run out of trips when they have their 3 wide receivers on the field, and they'll try to rub you off that way. So that might be the Steelers have had some trouble getting rubbed off on. So if you probably match up zone and zone, I expect to see a lot of that in this one, and I think you try to maybe play more of that two split safety and try to stop that run up front with 7, unless unless they start having success in that. But you got to. And look, the Chargers are fine by getting 3.5 yards in a cloud and a cloud of dust early as well too. They'll just try to bludgeon you with that running game and getting 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3 type situations that way there. So stop the run, be mindful of the early down play action, and you got to do a better job than a lot of these teams have done on 3rd downs against this offense, because they're number 1 in the league in converting on 3rd down.
49.2% of the time on 3rd down, so best in the business. And it's not just Harbaugh from that philosophy of old school style. It's the OC Greg Roman, who Pittsburgh knows well from his time in Baltimore. That's wherever he moved to the Chargers next. And they don't do the quarterback run stuff they did in Baltimore. They don't have, Herbert's athletic, but they're not going to run with him the way that they do Lamar Jackson. Also just good to protect Herbert, not running quite as often. But everything else is kind of the same. Like the Ravens had Ricard, the Chargers have Matlock. The Ravens loved using multiple tight ends. So do the Chargers. And so it's a play action, based offense, a lot of condensed splits, like you said. So there's a lot of similarities there. So even though you don't always see the Chargers a ton, even though you played them last year, you're pretty familiar with how they're structurally built offensively because you played Roman twice a year for several seasons.
And they don't use Fisk and Matlock a lot in the passing game, but they will try to sneak those guys out.
Well, Matlock just caught a touchdown off a play pass in the flat last week. So
was that Spider 2 wide banana there?
I'm trying to think. I don't know if that was exactly it or not, but it might have been. I mean, it was him out to the flat play action goal line. I think a 2-yard catch there. So
they'll try to sneak those 2 guys out on occasion, and they'll line Matlock up in the backfield, offset, and then run kind of a split zone off of that when they run some inside zone type stuff, and they'll try to wham you a couple of times as well too. So
yeah, Cam talked about that, those wham blocks, which is the fullback ear-holing the 3-tech, the defensive tackle, having the fullback block the D-tackle on an angle, kind of a quick-hitting play. Pittsburgh's done some similar stuff like that in the past. They've had some variations of wham and crunch this year, but those wham blocks, they can fool you as a D tackle. You think you got a free path with the guard pulling away, and then here comes the fullback, and then it kind of slows you down because you're then thinking about that the rest of the game. Are they going to wham me? The teams like to do it that early to kind of plant that seed and say you're going to get whammed again and kind of slow those defensive linemen down. In Pittsburgh, I'm sure the Chargers are saying we have to win the line of scrimmage because the Steelers present a really good front. They're playing well. If we don't win up front, it's going to be a long day for us. And so they're going to do everything they can to build that advantage up front.
As good as that offense is on third down, almost 50% in red zone, they're exactly 50%. So they have had their problems punching it in. So you got to make sure. Look, they're going to have a few drives in this game, obviously, but when you got to make them settle for field goals in this thing. And look, Rondé Gatson starting to show up as a red zone target for them as well too. So you got to be mindful where he is inside the red zone as well. So you're probably going to give up a few yards in the passing game in this one, but you got to make them settle for 3s instead of 7s.
Yeah, Gadsden's been a really good find for them, mid-round guy. His father, of course, played in the NFL in Miami for several seasons, and so his son now carrying that mantle. Last stat, the Chargers offense have turned the ball over 12 times this season, including at least once in each of their last 8 games. Can you force turnovers? Obviously very important to Pittsburgh's theory of the case and how they win. So they've been pretty turnover prone, the Chargers have. Pittsburgh has to run that score up.
They are second in the NFL. You ready to chart some more plays, Alex, this week? They are second in the NFL in average time of possession at 33 minutes.
How many plays per game are they running? I assume a healthy amount based off of that stat, but just for me to get my body ready for how many plays they got to chart this weekend. They are number 2 in the NFL in plays per game at just under 66. Jaguars first in the NFL. So Pittsburgh, again, 31st in plays run. But again, that's that physical brand of football, and I'm sure they're kind of wearing teams down in the second half by playing that kind of style.
Well, that third down conversion rate will keep you on the field.
That sure will. Great point by you. All right, Dave, flipping over to this Chargers defense. What are your thoughts? It's Jesse Minter, the DC, really good defensive coordinator, has this unit, I think, playing pretty well.
They play a lot of zone. They don't like to give up the big plays. As far as passing plays go, they're one of the better teams. I think something along the lines of maybe 22 or 23 passing plays of 20 yards or longer. So this is a defense that likes to keep a lid on things. Overall, they'll play cover three. They'll play some of these matchup zones as well too. Just you're going to see a lot of zone in this. They don't blitz a lot. They try to get it done mostly with 7-man fronts. Their linebackers their inside linebackers in Henley and Perryman really are quick and really do flow to the ball well. They get downhill very well. Perryman's not afraid to come up on a middle on a green dog or just a straight out blitz. He's a very quick point A to point B guy. Overall, once again, they don't blitz a ton. Up front, they got two big bodies in Tierre Tart and Jamari Caldwell that are tough to move. They rotate out their edge guys. A lot of these names will be familiar, and Khalil Mack and Bud Dupree. A guy that's very underrated in their defense is Tupalotu. He actually leads them in sacks, I think, with 7. And then they went out and traded for Odafe Owe a couple of weeks ago from Baltimore, and he has seen a little bit of resurgence in his play overall. So they'll swap out those edges. Khalil Mack is not the guy he was several years ago. The athleticism just really isn't there overall. Bud Dupree, obviously we're familiar with him. We're at this point in his career here overall, but they try to get it done mostly with the 7-man box overall there. They do have right at about the same amount of sacks, I think, as the Steelers do heading into this game here. As far as trying to run on them, they've been pretty decent against the run overall, but they are when it comes to 10-yard runs or longer, they've given up quite a few, 35, 38, something along those lines there. I think this group can be run on the edges.
I'm not so sure about the edges, at least from the tape study I watched in recent weeks. They got a lot of speed. You got Henley, a former college safety, playing linebacker for them. I felt like running between the tackles, A-B gaps is where I've seen Minnesota and Tennessee, at least these last 2 games, have more of a success. But I think they can be run on. They're allowing 4.9 yards per carry. Some of the aggregate, the big play numbers you talked about, are kind of indicative of that as well. So I think it's a group that you can run on, but I would do it more downhill than I would on the perimeter.
I disagree. I think if you go back and look there's been some success on the outside. Look, top to bottom, they haven't been quote unquote, stellar against the run, whichever direction that you run against them in. Let me pull up some stats.
And one benefit too is they run a 3-4, effectively a 2-4-5 nickel. And so Pittsburgh sees that, they practice against that. They generally have a lot more success running it versus those fronts than they do when they face those true blue 4-3 even fronts.
All right, runs to the right end. They are 31st in the league at 7.68 yards per game. On the other end, the left end, they are 29th in the league, average gain of 8 yards. You go into runs to the offensive left tackle side, they're 24th in the league. Left guard, 29th in the league, 5.7. Where they have been the stoutest in their run game is up the middle. 15th, ranked 15th in the league, 3.79 yards per carry. And at a right guard, they are ranked 19th in the league at 4.33 yards per carry. So they are stouter against the run up the middle and right guard than they are anywhere else. So,
but you have to think, remember, they've had a lot of their edge injuries. They add Khalil Mack is back, and he's been playing well since he came back from his injury. They add Owe, and so they're a different team along the edges now than they were probably earlier in the season.
Okay. All right.
So, but I mean, I think they can be run on. However you can run on them, I think Pittsburgh can have success, and that's kind of the main goal, obviously, no matter how you do it. But handling those edge guys, you're right. I mean, always got 4 sacks for them in 4 games. Mack, I think, has 3 sacks in 4 games this season. He's back healthy. And yeah, you're right. I mean, the name is not easy to say. I'm looking at the pronunciation guide to give me a little assist here, but Tui Pelotu has been really, really good for them. He led them in sacks last season, leads them in sacks this year. Had a 4-sack game against the Giants. He leads them in quarterback hits, leads them in forced fumbles. He's a really underrated guy. They run a ton of stunts, a lot of twists here, so Pittsburgh will have to really be on their P's and Q's to pick up and handle all that. You're going to see those amoeba looks. You're going to see some really inventive stuff. Henley's kind of uses this spy, some really kind of cool stuff they're doing on tape with him.
They'll line up James on the line of scrimmage, and then they'll at the snap he'll take off to the middle of the field.
Yeah, he's sort of their Jalen Ramsey and been doing it for a long time. Super versatile, can play all over, star, free safety, linebacker, blitz. I mean, he leads all NFL DBs and with 7 quarterback hits this season. So he's a guy you have to account for that can play everywhere. But I think that the collection of pass rushers they have and the production they're beginning to get from guys like Owe and Mack coming back, really, really impressive. They got it's a good front 7, and then defensively, it kind of reminds me. Maybe I'm a little over my skis here, but a little Vic Fangio because they play a lot of match coverage. It's not just super static. They're going to give you combination coverages and looks against 3x1 especially. There's a lot of quarters. They run, I think, 3rd highest rate of quarters in the NFL, 25%, a lot versus 2x2. And so I think in some ways, though, they're a little predictable in terms of what kind of shells you're going to get based on your alignment. I wonder if Pittsburgh can take advantage of that.
Tackling overall, they've been a good defense. They haven't given up a lot of passing yards the last couple of games, but a lot of the passing yards that they have given up have come after the catch. All right. So is this a game, is this a game that, here's 2 things that the Steelers have to be able to do because, as good as this Chargers defense is, on 3rd downs, on offense there. On defense, they are 8th in the league in 3rd down percentage at 35.78%. So they're a good, and we know, the Steelers offense, if they get in 3rd and long situations, it's a recipe for disaster. So you absolutely, if you can't run the football in this game, for the Steelers on offense, it could make for a long day because once again the Chargers are good on defense, and yeah, with Derwin James, you got to know where this guy is on the field because he can make plays anywhere, deep or right at the line of scrimmage or in your backfield. He'll come off the edge as well too. So you've got to figure out a way to run on this defense, and per play in the run game, they're allowing 4.91 yards per run. That ranks them 27th in the NFL. As far as passing yards per play, they're a lot better, 5.84 yards, 5th in the NFL. So we're going to have to see this Steelers offense run the ball, and we're going to have to see the Steelers offense get some yak because, once again, I expect the ball to come out quick from Aaron Rodgers, and they're just going to have to make hay after the catch. And this is, once again, a Chargers defense that does not give up a lot of explosive passing plays of 20 yards or longer.
It's interesting to see their 3rd down defense be so good when their run game has been pretty mediocre. Usually teams that get run on aren't great on 3rd down because they're in 3rd and short situations and it's harder to get those stops. So it kind of speaks to that level of pass rush and the pressure that they're getting. What my biggest concern about the Chargers defense in this game is they defend the perimeter pass, the quick game, the RPO game, the screen game really well. Again, fast flow defense, they rally, they really run hard to the football. They don't give up a lot of stuff in the flat, in those short areas, and that's basically been Pittsburgh's offense through the bulk of the season. And if they struggle to do that, we saw against Green Bay, Pittsburgh try to use those quick throws in the flat, those slant flat concepts, and those linebackers Walker and others were really on top of it. And I am concerned the same will happen in this game because the Chargers just fly to the football.
Yeah, they do. And once again, Perryman's all over the place. You got to try to get a body on that guy if you're going to run. So, you got to get to the second level on Henley and Perryman if you're going to run a lot of that mid zone type running games. And look, both those guys up front are tough to handle, and Tart and Jamari Caldwell.
I really like Tark. I think it's an underrated defensive tackle. I think he was a free agent and re-upped with them. Watching that secondary for sure, because a corner, you don't get a lot of big names there. And if Steele's going to miss another game for them, I'm not even sure exactly what's out there at corner. Dante Jackson, St. Juste is beat up too. We'll watch his status. And so I think it'll be really interesting to kind of see what they're going to roll out at cornerback. We know that certainly Dante Jackson's a guy that you can go after.
When number 96, Naquan Jones, is on the field in place of either Tart or Caldwell, you got to run at him.
Has he struggled?
Yeah, he's not great against the run. So you got to try to run when he's on the field there. So, this is a tough group, specifically on third down and even in the red zone. I think they're a very stout red zone defense. They are. Where are they on the red zone? Yeah,
fourth in red zone.
Fourth at 48.28%. And obviously the Steelers' red zone offense has been good overall there. So if you get down in their 20, you damn sure better come away with 7.
Yeah, it won't be easy. That's a really good situational matchup to watch. Pittsburgh 7th in red zone offense, Chargers 4th in red zone defense. Something's got to give here. Hopefully it falls in Pittsburgh's favor.
All right.
Any other thoughts here? I got one more thought if you don't have one, Dave, but feel free to finish out your thoughts on the Chargers.
No, go ahead.
Special teams. Titans ran back a punt last week. That's one reason why the Chargers had a bunch of plays. That was DK for the Titans. That's Chamari, by the way. I'm not talking DK Metcalf. Chamari DK, the rookie, had a 60-plus yard punt return touchdown. So can Keyshawn Williams recreate that magic? Just something to note.
All
right, Dave. I think it covers the Chargers pretty good before we make our picks for this game and the rest of week number 10. Let's hear from our friends over at MyBookie. And before you do that, every week I say divisional games are weird. They're always close. And I should have taken the Raiders last night. I did not. I took the Broncos. You took the Raiders. So you are 1-0 on the week in that miserable slop fest 10-7 outcome. So kudos to you. And let's hear from our friends on MyBookie.
Yeah, I got an early lead on you this week. Let's see. Last night the line was, what did I tell you? It was 8.5 on that. You took the Broncos minus 8.5. I took the Raiders plus 8.5. I didn't think it would be as ugly as like, boy, that Broncos punter. He had a rough night there, and ended up being a real sloppy game overall for a Thursday night game. But the Raiders covered, and that has me up 1-0 over you to start the week here. And when it comes to MyBookie, obviously they've been a long time sponsor of the Terrible Podcast, specifically when it comes to Friday and Alex and I doing our picks here. And look, there's already been a lot of teams that have hung 40 or more on the board this year, and the overs are printing right and left. It didn't last night, though. MyBookie is where my boys are cashing in on every one of those. MyBookie has game lines, player props, same game parlays, whatever you're riding, MyBookie has it. New players now can use our promo code TERRIBLE. That's promo code TERRIBLE to get started with the bet back bonus that MyBookie offers. That's right. Your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If it misses, the bet back token keeps you in the game so you can reload and fire another shot. Whether you're building your bankroll or looking to hit the lotto with Money Bag option that they have, you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. And obviously they've got lines, hockey, college football is in full swing right now. NBA basketball, college basketball is heating up as well too. So anything imaginable, they've got the lines related to it at mybookie.ag. And I've used them for years. They're great. I love using the same game parlays within them as well too. So make sure you take advantage of their bet back bonus token that they have. That means your first bet up to $500 is fully covered, and that's if you at sign up use promo code terrible at mybookie.ag. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
All right, Dave, let's make our picks.
All right, pull up the lines for this week's game here. Make sure I've got them all refreshed and ready to go. We are looking at, to start off, the Atlanta Falcons playing the Indianapolis Colts on the road. The Colts are that not only on the road, that's over in where?
Germany, I
Germany.
believe, Berlin.
Right. So Colts coming off that loss to the Steelers. They are 6-point favorites against the Falcons.
Colts bounce back in a big way. Give me the Colts.
I agree. I think the Colts will be just fine moving forward. I will lay that 6 points there. In a game I'm sure nobody will be watching, the New York Jets will be hosting the Cleveland Browns. The Jets just traded away, obviously, a couple of big pieces on defense. The Cleveland Browns, I believe, coming off their bye week, right? Yeah.
Yep.
The Browns are 2-point road favorites against the Jets.
Yeah, this one definitely will not be watching. This one's tough. The Browns have a play calling change too for the second straight year. Kevin Stefanski giving it to the OC Tommy Reese. My gut's saying the Jets. I don't know why, but I'll go the Jets.
Oh, I think Myles Garrett's going to leave New York wearing Justin Fields as a hat. Maybe. I will easily lay those 2 points with the Browns. Just too good of a defense here. The Saints on the road against the Carolina Panthers. Boy, the Panthers really have been playing some good ball points this season. The Saints obviously in the cellar in that division there. 5.5 points. The Panthers are favored at home against the Saints.
When was the last time the Panthers were favored by 5.5 points in a game? Probably been a minute. I know Dowdle's situation, his injury might be a little uncertain, but I will take the Panthers.
Yeah, I like the Panthers in this one as well, too. I'll lay the 5.5 points in that game. The Buffalo Bills on the road against the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo 9.5 point road favorites going down to Florida.
You know, I keep saying about divisional play, then I keep not following my own advice here. I probably should do that at some point. I'll do it here. I'll say the Dolphins cover.
I'll say the Bills cover this one. I'll lay that big number of 9.5 with them on the road here. The Jacksonville Jaguars, a divisional game on the road against the Texans. Jaguars 1-point road favorites in Houston.
And this one is going to be an interesting game. In Houston,
Stroud had a good game this past week, didn't he?
Oh no, he's concussed though, right? He's going to miss this game. Davis
that's right.
Will start. The Texans are still favored even with Stroud out.
No, Jaguars are 1-point road favorites,
but only by 1 point. Yeah, I mean Mills is a capable backup, but give me the Jaguars.
Why is this one as close? I wonder.
You smell a rat.
I smell a rat here, some sort of fumble or something like that. Low-scoring game, I think, overall. I'll take the Texans to win this on a late field goal. Give me the +1. New York Giants go on the road and play the Bears. The Bears, 4.5-point home favorites against the Giants.
Yeah, give me the Bears.
Yeah, I'll take the Bears late to 4.5 there. Baltimore Ravens on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. I think everybody practiced for the Ravens every day this week so far. The Ravens laying 4 points on the road against Minnesota.
Yeah, it's a big far cry from where Baltimore was at earlier this season with a mash unit. I will take Baltimore.
I'll take Baltimore to cover that 4 points as well, too. This should be an interesting game. The Patriots go on the road against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are 2.5-point home favorites against the Patriots.
Yeah, I do like this one. I'm going to take this one. This one's definitely tough. Take the Patriots.
I'll take some sort of Baker Mayfield magic in this one. I'll lay the 2.5 points. I'll say the Buccaneers win by a field goal and cover that 2.5 there. Arizona Cardinals without Kyler Murray. He's on IR now. Go to Seattle. Seattle laying 7 points at home against Jacoby Brissett company.
Who's done well. I mean, he's probably should be the starter even if Murray was healthy. Seahawks been great on the road, as you pointed out. Not as great at home. Divisional play. I'll take my own advice here. Give me the Cardinals.
I'll take the Seahawks to get right at home, especially when it comes to covering here. I'll lay these 7 points here. The Lions on the road against the Commanders. The Commanders obviously won't have Daniels at quarterback. I don't think they're going to put him on IR, but he's definitely going to miss some time here. So Marcus Mariota at quarterback for the Commanders. The Lions got to get back right, laying 8 points on the road against Washington.
It's a pretty sizable line. What is McLaurin's status? Do we know if he's going to play? He missed last game.
I think he's struggling with that injury. I haven't looked specifically, but I have a feeling that he's going to miss. So that leaves Debo. And also they had lost the other wide receiver as well too, McCaffrey.
Oh yeah, Luke McCaffrey's broken collarbone. Yeah, super unfortunate for him. Yeah, Daniel's best case scenario for one of the most grotesque injuries I've seen in quite some time. So I guess there's some good news there. I don't know if he'll come back this year because the season feels like it'll be over by the time he's even ready in a couple of weeks, but I will take the Lions.
I'll take the Lions, lay that big number of 8 along with you here. How about the Rams on the road against the 49ers? The Rams playing good ball, laying 5 against the 49ers in San Francisco.
Yeah, divisional play. Purdy, I think, is still very much questionable. Don't think he's going to play this week. Might be a tight game. Rams added to it a little bit late. Give me the Rams.
I think the Rams win this. I think the 49ers cover that 5, though. I'll take the +5 here. All right. The Monday night game is what? Green Bay hosting the Eagles. That should be a good one. The Packers are coming off of a disappointing game, are 2-point home favorites against the Eagles.
Eagles offense has been clunky too. I think the Packers find a way to bounce back. Give me Green Bay.
I think this is going to be a great game to watch. I think the Packers win this on a late field goal, and I'll lay the 2 points along with you on that. That circles us all the way back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ought to feel like a home game. Steelers fans usually show up out there at SoFi Stadium there. The Chargers, even though are 3-point home favorites against the Steelers. What way do you see this one going, Alex?
I have felt more conflicted about picking this game than I have any other this year, which I don't know if that means anything because I've been terrible at picking these games. I'm 2-6 on the season, just straight up picking this game, which is just abysmal. I'm sellers at the trade deadline for sure. The Chargers' really fast flow defense that takes away some of that quick game is the thing that concerns me the most. I think Pittsburgh's pass rush can have success. I think Pittsburgh's run game can have success. Can the quick passing game be able to find traction, or can Pittsburgh get some of those vertical plays that have been pretty infrequent this season? I really went back and forth on this one, but I think Pittsburgh, the run defense, the front has looked good. They can play those big on big, mano-a-mano, physical type of games between the tackles, which is a Chargers brand of football that puts the Chargers in 3rd and long against Pittsburgh's pass rush. Going the Steelers in this one, 20-17.
Wow. Okay. I was conflicted on this, going back and forth as well too. It boils down to 3rd down for me in this game. The Chargers are fantastic, on 3rd down. They do just enough. Herbert, he's just so hard to defend. Do you blitz him? Do you not blitz him? Can you get enough pressure on him? And look, I know that Chargers offensive line is beat up, but how many times have we seen the Steelers go into games against offensive lines that you think they should dominate, then they don't. Overall, I just think the difference in this game is explosive plays and 3rd down. The Steelers struggle on offense getting explosive plays. They struggle on offense on 3rd downs overall, and the Chargers are just better team on 3rd down on both sides of the football. They don't give up a lot of explosive plays. I think this comes down to quarterbacks converting 3rd downs, and I think the Chargers stay on the field long enough, end up wearing the Steelers down. The over-under on this is 45 points. I have this coming just under. Chargers 24, Steelers 20 in this one.
Wow. Chargers. I did not think you were going to take the Chargers in this one, Dave.
Yeah, I just think that they have, I think it comes down to third downs on explosive plays. I think we look at the talk stat on this overall. I worry about the Steelers maybe being able to get takeaways. I worry about defense being able to get off the field overall. I worry about third down on both sides of the football. If the Steelers, all right, let's get into if they win this game.
Mm-hmm.
If the Steelers win this game, we will be talking 10+ yard runs. We'll be talking third down conversions on both sides of the football, plain and simple. And also, if the Steelers win, I think we'll be talking about, boy, they did another game of where did that yak come from?
I think it'll be less about the yak. I think it'll be about Pittsburgh hitting some big downfield plays to mitigate some of the open field tackling ability that the Chargers display. I think Pittsburgh will have to play their game a little bit differently, which has me. It's the reason why I'm conflicted in this one. But I think it's about running the ball, stopping the run, and getting some of those big downfield plays with Pittsburgh's pass rush doing its thing, and at least in some timely moments to sack Herbert a handful of times will be the reasons why they win. And then if they lose, what is the storyline Monday?
If they lose, it's we're looking at the third downs. We're looking at their inability to get either 10+ yard runs. I just don't see a lot of 20-yard pass plays for the Steelers in this game. So I would imagine maybe they pop one for 60 or 70 for a touchdown, much like several weeks ago when I forget who they played. That they had the big touchdown, Minnesota.
The Steelers, yeah, the Metcalf 80-yard touchdown.
You absolutely cannot turn the football over on a short field to Justin Herbert. You just can't, for sure. So I would imagine not zero giveaways on offense for the Steelers would play a part in them getting a win in this. But I bounced around. I was very conflicted on this. I said, look, who's the better third down team? And it's the Chargers. And that's why I had them not only winning, but covering the 3 points.
Yeah, if they lose this game, I think the quick passing game will be taken away. Pittsburgh's red zone offense won't win out, with the Chargers' red zone defense will win that battle, and then Pittsburgh's pass rush won't get home the way that we think it will, because the Chargers' plan schematically will be to take away, minimize that pass rush, and also there's some good playmakers in Johnston and McConkey and some guys that are tough to cover down the field. So that's the reason why they would lose this game.
Look, this is a tough team, right? You know, this is almost the pre-measuring stick for what you're going to kind of face similarly for Baltimore coming up, minus Derrick Henry, of course. But
and Lamar's other run threat and
right.
everything that kind of comes off of that. But yeah,
right.
point taken. It's a
right.
Greg Wilman offense. Yep.
I mean, this would definitely be one to stick in feather in the cap if the Steelers can win this one.
All right, Dave. One other thing I forgot to mention in our long pre-production meeting before we get to emails, and this will become maybe more relevant by the end of next week. Speaking of Chargers, former Chargers cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. is apparently going to visit the Steelers Wednesday. It's the last leg of a grand tour. He's visiting 5 teams before Pittsburgh, including the Panthers, the Packers.
He visited
Bears.
the Packers yesterday. He was on the list.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking all the teams he had scheduled in front. I think the Niners as well. So, will he even still be a free agent by then? Will he sign somewhere in one of those visits? I think he'll take all the visits and kind of weigh all of his options before he goes ahead and signs. But, Pittsburgh, could that be their quote-unquote trade deadline acquisition, picking up one of the top free agents? He's been medically cleared from a back injury that required surgery. What are your thoughts on the potential of adding him?
If he lasts that long and takes all these, Mike Tomlin's got a way of selling these guys, especially if the Steelers get another win this week and are looking a little bit sweeter as far as playoff chances go. They could definitely use another outside corner here. So I would say it's 50-50 if he survives all of these visits and doesn't sign, and if the Steelers come away with a win, I think Mike Tomlin be able to put and the rest of those guys be able to put a sell job on him.
Yeah, I mean, just even putting past that, if he does sign in Pittsburgh, what is the fit? What is the role? How do you see those pieces coming together?
I haven't gone deep. I mean, into his play and all like that, but I can see him definitely rotating in as a, as a situational corner.
Yeah, I mean, you would imagine, Porter's still going to start. You would imagine Ramsey's going to then stay at safety full time, essentially, and then probably Slay will start really seeing the snaps reduced down.
Right, because it doesn't feel like we're going to see Corey Trice Jr. anytime soon, right?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see him at all this season, and maybe not
Okay.
again, period.
Yeah, it's one of those things, people say, well, will he make it through all these visits? It does sound like he's at least going to, unless somebody really throws out an offer he can't refuse out there as far as money-wise, feels like he's going to make all of it. And he's coming to Pittsburgh when? Wednesday?
Yeah, coming to Pittsburgh on Wednesday, that last visit. So, well, again, if he gets there, Mike Williams was supposed to visit Pittsburgh last offseason. He went to the Jets first, signed a contract with them, but I think Sam was already missed a bunch of time. Teams also want to just get comfortable with his medical situation, too. It's probably part of these visits is let's just kind of evaluate you medically. So, I think he'll take the visits, but we'll see.
Who were the listed teams that he's supposed to visit again?
Let me pull it up here so I have the complete list. I don't want to say anything incorrect, but there were 5 teams ahead. You're right. He's already taken a couple of those visits, so he has not signed anywhere to date. Let me just pull up the exact article 1 second to let it load in. Because initially Pittsburgh was not on the list. We thought it wasn't going to happen, and then the whole list got tweeted out. I'm trying to find the article. Give me 1 second. It is Panthers, Packers, Vikings, 49ers, Bears, and then Steelers.
Okay. All right. I think the Steelers got a legitimate chance there.
Just wonder if it might be a clearer opportunity somewhere else. I don't know the quarterback situations of these other teams. Obviously, a lot of teams that are in the mix and contending. He went to Florida State. There's no team near there. I don't know. Where's he from?
He knows Ramsey, though, right?
Were they teammates with Florida State?
Were they teammates or were they at least same school, though?
Yeah, they both. I don't know if they overlapped. He's much younger than. Well, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if they overlapped or not. Maybe.
I don't have that data in front of me, but he obviously knows Ramsey.
I'm sure there's some connection there, right? I mean, I'm sure those two guys will be able to quickly connect. Ramsey's last year, Florida State, 2015. Yeah, so they seemed to get there till 2018, so they were not teammates in college. But again, there's some. I'm sure they can swap some stories.
All right. Anything else we got?
I think there was just one note on AB waiving. I don't know, he's going through the court process. I just saw that come across, but that's not really any sort of major update. That's all I got, Dave. Let's get to some reader emails and close out today's show.
All right. Let's see. Let's start with Nicholas Arnold. I wanted to get your read on your thoughts about Asante Samuel Jr. and his possible fit on the Steelers. Reading both the Steelers Depot draft profile and some recent reports, it sound like he's good, not great zone corner who is undersized and has tackling inconsistencies. What's your read on the fit in terms of health? The Steelers are likely in a good position there, given who his doctor was. I mean, Nick, I think, we just kind of hit on that. Not a great tackler overall, but I think you can find work for him. I don't think he'd be an every down guy, but I think you could definitely carve out some snaps for him in this defense.
Yeah, I really hadn't done a dive into his tape. He's been a really quality player whenever he's been healthy. He just had that spinal fusion surgery, which is certainly alarming and has to be vetted. But as the reader said, the Steelers neurosurgeon did the surgery on him, not in a Steelers capacity, just the surgery for a bunch of different people and players around the NFL. So it doesn't hurt to have that kind of, I don't want to call it inside information because I assume that medical information is going to be relayed to every team that inquires, but it certainly helps to have the doctor that you know so well probably give you the best information possible on his health situation. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be a talented player that could come in and maybe replace some of Slay's snaps.
All right. All right. This one from Tanner Kirby. This talks about Jeremiah Smith 2027 train. With all the talk about quarterbacks being poor in class next year and so many teams going to be in the market, why reach for a new rookie quarterback in 2026 when the Steelers can get the best offensive line available, especially a Sayamala replacement, or trade back with all that mid-round capital and get a 2027 first to reunite Smith and Howard? He says, I was with Alex on the Will Howard train this offseason, he writes here. Oh, Lord, we're already talking about a 2027 draft class here. I feel fortunate enough I've been able to pay attention to some of these quarterbacks during the college season this year. Look, Alex and I just recently went down some of the teams we think could be associated with quarterbacks this year, and yeah, I don't think the 2026 quarterback class has played out exactly how people thought it might at the start of the college season. But there are 3, 4 quarterbacks I think in this class, maybe even 5 will end up potentially being deserving of first round picks. They're just wanting to look that far ahead right now, especially 2027, and a guy like Jeremiah Smith. I mean, that's just so very tough to do.
What was the suggestion? Was there a trade? Did he say to make a trade to help get picks to reunite to?
He's saying or trade back with all that mid-round capital and get a 2027 first-round draft pick to reunite Smith and Howard. So he's looking ahead. He's talking about trading some of that mid-round capital somehow.
It's not going to get you a first round. Yeah. Jeremiah Smith's going to be like a top 5, top 10 pick if he continues to track the way he's been tracking. So I don't know how we're getting a 2027 top 10 pick in this situation without Pittsburgh somehow falling apart and having that naturally. So it's a fun thought, but he's going to be one of those blue chip guys, probably first, second receiver off the board. I don't see that happening. It's interesting though, and I have not followed this much, and people that follow the draft throughout the season, I jump in once the season ends, as you guys know. They say the 2026 class isn't great just overall from a pure talent standpoint across the board. 2027, though, is projected to be an awesome class. Now, that projection, of course, can change as we get closer to that date. I'm sure 2 years ago they said 26 is going to be an awesome class, all that kind of stuff. But that seems to be the conventional wisdom, is that 2026 is just an okay class and 27 could be a really, really fun group.
All right. I'm still trying to learn weekly about the 2026 class. So, fake tush push from Luke Weaver. First of all, thanks for all the great content. Feeling like I'm part of the discussion with Dave and Alex makes the drive time fly by. All right. Why does Aaron stay on the field in the Commander Rogers pose during the tush push? Would subbing him with a bigger body help, or would they just be on the end of the line too far away from the action? Or do you think they could be setting up a fake tush push? Could you even snap it directly to Rogers between all those guys in the backfield? Could Connor take the snap and pitch it back to him? Yeah. Look, they just obviously they don't want Rogers involved in the tush push. As far as trick plays, I think you try to get too cute sometimes with that. You end up with disaster and all like that. With subbing him for a bigger body help with the tush push and all. How do you feel about just Rogers essentially standing back with hands on his hips?
We have gotten a lot of questions about this, Dave. It's a hot topic. I'm fine with it. I mean, as the reader alluded to, you already have 2 pushers. With Washington, I think Warren are generally the 2 pushers. You don't need a third pusher. That's not how the tush push is sort of aligned. So adding an extra non-quarterback just to be on the line of scrimmage at the end is not benefiting you. And you might want to at least give the defense, because if the defense ever sees Rodgers not come on the field in 3rd and short, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, then they really know it's a tush push. At least with the Rodgers being out there, you don't know they're kind of in tush-push formation until they align. So that's one factor. Then I don't know if Rodgers has more control, if there's a timeout or some sort of communication issue, or just who's getting the call in. If Rodgers is not on the field, like who's got the headset, the radio, all that kind of stuff I think matters. As for a trick play, it's a fun thought, and we can have get our papers out and scheme up of a bunch of plays. But the amount of anger that would happen if Pittsburgh on 4th and inches tried to run some sort of pitch, snap it back to Rodgers, and if it didn't work, the amount of anger on Twitter there would be just off the charts. And also, who's running like a pattern? Like if you snap it to Rodgers, everyone's in tight. Who's like going out to run a route? I don't know logistically how you do that. It just seems way too messy for just push forward, just get the first down. I'm okay with how things are going.
Could Connor take a quick handoff and turn around and hand it to Darnell or something? You know?
But why? Like, you
I
got
know.
4th and inches,
I know. I
like,
look.
just run forward.
Yeah, you don't special. You don't. You're not a team that really. You're not the Eagles in this. So just if you're
Right.
gonna run it, just run it. You know.
I mean,
Don't get too cute.
teams have done some variations. The Colts did one to Pittsburgh on that first 4th down. They kind of ran a little old school kind of wing tee type play to Taylor. And so the Eagles have done some of that. The Patriots did that with Henderson. It's not pitching it, it's just kind of some handoffs. And it's with the quarterback there. It's not, I guess Connor could do it. But I don't know. I mean, Pittsburgh is probably not at that level of being able to layer those things. I'm okay with just pushing forward and getting the first down.
Now, as soon as they said that, they'll do something.
They probably will do it. I don't know if they'll do it at some point, but I'm okay with them not trying to test that out.
I am as well. All right. Joseph Thomas writes in about Keanu Benton. Has Benton added more pass rush moves or just having more success with his one move? Is his improvement sustainable? He's just been winning more. He's doing a good job in the run and all. I'm not seeing his pass rush repertoire gain traction or anything like that. I just think that he's been playing better overall and winning more up front.
Minnesota, he was running some different moves. He was running more of a rip move and had a little more in his bag. I think he's tried some different stuff. Against the Colts, it was the club over, still kind of really winning, but I think he's evolved his game a little bit. Still wouldn't see as a great number 2 move or a great counter off that club over, but the club over is still really, really potent.
All right, this one we'll wrap it up with Chris Lookhart here. Hello, gents. I have a bone to pick with you playfully. You keep repeating that Rodgers is who he is, a get the ball out quick and short passing guy. I think the label is unfair to a certain extent. He is that because of our offensive line. When given time, he can make every throw on the field at an elite level still. If he had Indy's line, he would probably be making greater throws down the field. So for you to label him as a dink and dunk guy, I don't think that this is completely true. Pittsburgh's O-line is a real reason he is getting the ball out quick as a quarterback. I still think, look, obviously the offensive line plays into this and all, but I just, one of the things and that I noted with him coming out of the Jets and all like that, you just and we see Herbert take, Herbert's a lot younger. Herbert takes a lot of these hits, kind of the hits that Aaron Rodgers. He just at this point of his career, I just think Aaron Rodgers is now. Look, if you had 5 All Pros up there, might he be able to hold the football longer and not have to use these max protections and chips and have more guys out in the route combinations and all like that. That would be a good problem. I'd like to be able to see it, but I just overall at his age and all, and it. I mean, we saw this kind of happen with Ben as he went longer. Older quarterbacks just seem to be more between the ears, helps them stay playing in the game longer and get the ball out quicker. So I do firmly believe that this is now. Look, will he still take shots on the outside one-on-one? Will he still throw the football down the field occasionally? I still come back to I think this is who Aaron Rodgers is and is at his best at this point of his career.
It's a bigger question to ask, but how far can that take Pittsburgh? Can you really go on a true postseason run with this sort of offense? Are there teams in the past that have done that with this sort of concept?
Alex, I think you need explosive plays in the NFL.
So I'm going to take that as a no.
I just think you've got to have explosive plays. I meant to try to dive into this midweek as well too. As far as 20-yard passing plays and 10-yard runs, runs of 10 yards or greater over time. The teams that have made it the Final Four in each conference where those teams ranked in explosive plays. I feel we've got to see this offense be able to get more explosive plays.
I agree. It's hard to
especially when you're not as good of a team on third down and third and long situations. You see teams able to overcome this, like the Chiefs and really look at the Chargers, what they do on if you're not a third good third down team. And look, I mean, it helps obviously when you have 5-6 takeaways in a game, but how reliant can you be on that? I just think for offenses to make a push into the postseason, they've got to have some explosive play. More than 2 to 3 per game to survive.
I guess the Chiefs are kind of the closest thing to what Pittsburgh has run in terms of something that's had that Super Bowl potential success. Not the Chiefs of the early Mahomes era, but the last couple seasons. I know obviously they got trounced in the Super Bowl last year, but it's kind of the offense Pittsburgh in some ways is running.
It just feels like they need, and we talked about this the other day, they need, on average 1 or 2 more a game could really make some, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. I wonder if we're going to be looking at the explosive play differential and the turnover differential in this one, the talk stat. The Steelers cannot beat the Chargers if they're like -2 or greater. I just don't think they can.
I mean, that's true, I think, of most teams, right?
It's 80%. Yeah, it's 80% across the league statistically, there.
Right,
so if you're not getting the takeaways, do we expect the Steelers to win the explosive play battle against the Chargers?
No, but again, that's true of so many teams. I mean, if you don't get the takeaways, then of course your odds of winning take a big hit because most teams win games when they take the ball away, and most teams lose games
unless
they
they've
don't
got
take
the
ball away.
explosive play component.
Right, but I mean that's usually a takeaway is more weighty than a 20-yard pass play or a 10-yard run. I
Right.
mean, just in terms of what matters more in terms of your odds of winning. So I don't know. I still bristle at the idea of, well, if Pittsburgh can't take the football away, how can they win? I think it's just lowest common denominator you can say about anything. What if Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a good game? Can they win? Well, you're banking on them doing those things. That's kind of how they're built. But I think Pittsburgh certainly still has to look for some more explosive offensively. It's what the whole offseason was about. It's why you add
Right.
DK Metcalf and why you upgrade your quarterback play and have added a lot of speed at receiver over the last couple of years in Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin was to get some of those more explosive plays. And are they on track to have more explosive plays this year or last year?
Oh, let's see.
Because they weren't horrible with big plays for the first 10, 12 weeks of last year. And then obviously things fell off a cliff. But I think their explosive play numbers in 24 were actually pretty decent. Remember, Najee was ripping off some good runs early in the season, stuff he hadn't been doing very frequently before. I wonder where Pittsburgh just stacks up relative to where they were at last year. I'm going to try to search that.
While you do that, I'm going to look on SIS to see how many completed balls of 20 yards or more Aaron Rodgers has down the field.
And that's not air yards. Is that air yards or is that?
Yeah,
just,
that's air yards.
That's air yards. Okay.
And obviously, it's not going to be a lot of them, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not going to be a ton. I don't know how you want to quantify that, but obviously, it's been a more yak-based offense.
All right. This is the dead air portion.
This is the part where Dave and I are both linking up into the mainframe and searching here. Pittsburgh had 55 completions of 20-plus yards last year. That could be yak or air yards, which was a top 10 number in the NFL. I'm sure they're not there this year. So in terms of ranking, not in terms of aggregate number this year in 2025, they have 20 plays of 20-plus yards. That is 32, 31, 30, 29th, tied for like 27th in the NFL.
All right, 21 dropbacks of air yards of 20 or more for the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers has completed 7 of them. So right at 33%, right? You had the long one to Austin against the Seahawks. You had 2 to DK Metcalf against the Browns. You had 2 against the Bengals, 1 to Metcalf, 1 to Pat Freiermuth. You had 2 against the Packers, both to Roman Wilson.
It's not been as explosive. Looking at the run game, Pittsburgh was top 10 in explosive run plays last year. They had more quarterback mobility when Fields contributed to that early in the season. And this year, they're bottom 5 in that category. So the explosive plays have not been there. You've seen a big reduction even compared to Pittsburgh last season. But also seen this red zone offense play a whole lot better. So what means more? Explosive plays that end in field goals or, kind of death by 1,000 cuts downfield to put the ball in the end zone, because the name of the game is points. And so, you're at least seeing them finishing drives, which they have not done in quite some time.
All right. How many, you got stat head open there?
I do.
All right. How many explosive plays, pass plays of 20 yards or longer, throw out the no plays.
Sure.
How many explosive plays of 20 yards or more in the passing game did the Steelers have did the Steelers have last year through their first 8 games?
Through their first 8 games last year, you're looking
Right.
for. All right.
Last year, explosive pass plays of 20 yards or more through their first 8 games, not including penalties.
Sure. Pulling that up now, Pittsburgh had 24, which ranked about a little below average league-wide.
All right. This year, they have 20 of those. All right.
Okay.
All right. How many runs of 10 yards or longer did the Steelers have last year through the first 8 games?
Efforting. Now, again, having Fields was an asset that they don't have this year with the quarterback mobility. I don't have a good way to filter out just running backs. I can maybe do that in a second.
All right,
but
just runs.
32 last year, which was about around top 10, a little outside maybe.
All right. They have 19 this year.
Okay, so
They've been a less explosive offense this year compared to this same point last year.
how many did the running backs have last year? Because again, you had the quarterback mobility. Aaron Rodgers is not running keepers the way that Fields did. The running backs had 25.
All right. And
So you're still 6 behind. Assuming that Rodgers does not have. Does Rodgers have a 10-yard rush this year? He might have one.
If he did, that was that fumble one, right?
I think so. So I think give it 18 for the running backs, we'll say. So still behind.
All right. And like I said, they only have 19 in entirety this year, 10+ yard runs. So they are less explosive this year so far.
But they're more effective in the red zone. Do those things balance out? You could argue that.
All right. We'll track that moving forward. All right, that's a good rabbit hole to end with for this show. We will here's something else really to consider about the Chargers game. I guess they have yet to have their bye, right? So this is a team that's played a lot of games up until this point, and as we mentioned, they're banged up on the offensive line, and they can't wait for their bye this week. So how much will that wear and tear? How much will that play into any of this? And, about the Steelers and explosive plays, too, let me remind everybody that the Steelers had 0 explosive plays 20 yards or longer against the Colts last week.
And they won the game, but 6 takeaways is a great way to balance all that out.
All right. We will talk about barring a tie on Sunday, one of us will be right and one of us will be wrong, just the way that I like it. There. We'll talk about the game on Monday. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter/X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button. Follow the directions that way. Get a username and password. Hit the login button. Use that login details to get to the ad-free version of the site. All right. I enjoy doing these 3 times a week with you, Alex, and we'll do another one on Monday. So as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.